Hello everyone, welcome back. This is a remake of one of my old videos. I built this beautiful Pratt Whitney R-2800 engine for my Tamiya Corsair. Well, I still haven't finished this Corsair, but hopefully one day it will come back to my workbench. The original video has no voiceover, just subtitles, so I decided to refresh it. This engine is a part of a complete upgrade set from Tamiya's Corsair kits. It's not easy to build, but the result is very nice and the details are fantastic. For the first step, I had to cut and clean all the parts. I like to use thin razor saw and sharp hobby knife for this job. After I cut off all the parts, I checked and cleared every single part. It is time consuming for sure, but I always pay close attention for the fine details. I pre-painted the engine block with superfine silver. I wanted to be sure that every corner was painted. I used highly diluted paint with low pressure compressor settings. After the engine block, I painted all of the cylinders as well. For gluing the parts, I used ordinary superglue. The Pratt & Whitney R-2800 double Wasp is a twin-row 18-cylinder air-cooled radial engine with a displacement of 2800 cubic inch, which is 46 liters. The R-2800 was widely used in many important aircraft during and after World War II, such as the famous Corsair or the twin-engined Black Widow. Its first run was in 1937 and its first flight was on the 29th of May in 1940 in the Corsair prototype airframe, which was designed around the R-2800. After I glued all 18 cylinders, I applied another layer of fine silver paint. I masked the front of the engine and painted it Mr. Hobby Intermediate Blue. During the design phase, heat dissipation was a significant problem. This engine was designed with much thinner and closer pitched cooling fins that were machined from a solid metal of a cylinder head. Of course, it was equipped with a double ignition system. When the 2800s was introduced in 1939, it was produced around 2000 horsepower. During the war, there were different production models, and these models produced between 2100 and 2400 horsepower. But some of the models were even more powerful. The R-2800-57 was produced 2800 horsepower. The AIRES set contains 0.5mm copper rod for the push-pull tubes, but I didn't like it. I used 0.5mm real tubes from Albion Alloys instead. I cut and shaped them one by one, 36 tubes in total. I recommended use tubes but wire because the tube is nice and straight, easier to work with. The R-2800's use and development continued after World War II. Engines become more powerful as they are developed. During the war, performance was priority even if their frontline service life was expected to be short. However, in peacetime, the focus on reliability for more extended periods was more important than anything, and the R-2800 engine's famous reliability made it suitable for use in long-range commercial aircraft such as the Douglas DC-6. On the top of every cylinder there is an inner ear drain tube. I made them from 0.2mm copper wire. Generally, I like to use wires and tubes. If I don't need structural strength, I prefer lead wires. We can buy them in different sizes from 0.2mm. For example, to imitate those rubber tubes, I used 0.5mm lead wires. I painted the push rods flat black, but I used rubber black for the rubber tubes. I prefer to use rubber black. I usually skip black because it's just too black for me. Rubber black is actually a very dark grey. The clamps on the rubber tubes are painted in silver. For weathering, I use Tamiya's panel liners, black, brown, dark brown and grey. I like to use enamel or oil paints for weathering. The benefit of oil is that it dries slowly, so that we can work with it for a long time. Sometimes the pre-mixed Tamiya panel liners do the job. I like both methods. A touch of dark brown looks great on it, it imitates the burnt metal effect. The next step was to make the manifold pipes for the cylinders. After I cut and cleared them, I painted them in super iron. This was the first problem with this set. Unfortunately, all of the pipes were short and/or pointed to the wrong point, so I had to fix basically all of them. I used matching size lead wire to fix this problem. I cut these fillers in the right length and glued them in the gaps. Some of the pipes were pointed to the very wrong point. For example, this one was pointed to the exhaust outlet. I cut it back and made a nice long precise new one. This famous engine was used in several well-known aircraft. The F4U Corsair was the testbed of this engine, and the R-2800 was the power plant in the famous Navy fighter the Grumman F6 Hellcat. In the P-47 Thunderbolt, the R-2800 was equipped with the General Electric turbocharged system, which was quite unique for a single-engine aircraft. Another interesting aircraft was the P-61 Black Widow, a twin-engine radar-equipped night fighter powered by two 2800s. After all the manifold pipes were fixed, I fixed the paint, and I think it looks pretty good. Nice PE spark plug cables are included in the AIRES upgrade set, but I decided to make them from lead wires instead. There is nothing wrong with the PE parts, it's absolutely usable, but it's too flat for me, so I made a new one. Mainly I didn't like the inner ring, the ignition manifold ring. My first plan was to make a new inner ring and use the PE cables. I used 0.5mm lead wire. It was easy to bend to the right circular shape. I used ordinary superglue for gluing it. Now I liked it more than the flat PE part. In the end I decided to make the spark plug cables from 0.2mm lead wires as well. With the fine sharp tweezers I carefully shaped the thin wires. After I glued all the cables I painted them desert yellow. After the weathering the desert yellow will be darker, which is just the right color that I was looking for. Between 1939 and 1960, more than 125,000 R-2800 engines were produced in 5 different A to E series. The A series was basically the prototype stage of the 2800. However, the 2800-8 was an A series engine for the B-26 bomber. Almost 1,500 units were built from this engine. The B series was the first major series produced in significant numbers. For example, the -8 and 8W, W means water injection system, were used in the Corsair, and the -10 and 10W were used in the Hellcat or in the Black Widow. The -21 and 59 models were equipped with the General Electric turbocharged system and designed for use in the Republic P-47 models. I installed the magneto and the 2 distributors. Oops, I just realized that I glued the magneto upside down. I had to fix it. The rocket drain oil manifold was missing from the set, so I made it from a small piece of styrene. The rocket drain oil manifold structure tube is a 0.4 mm copper wire. This tube has a Z shape, but one of the bend is sharp and another one is soft. For the sharp bend, I bent it on a hard surface. To make the soft bend on the wire, I bent it on a soft surface with light pressure. I just used my finger. Finally, I painted it in gunmetal. The next step was the exhaust system. I used ordinary superglue to glue the resin parts. Then I painted the base layer for superfine silver. I painted the exhaust pipes in reddish brown. It was a mistake from me, because I used animal paint and I didn't cover it with a varnish, and the Tamiya panel liner I used for weathering is an animal-based product, so it washed down the brown paint, so I had to repaint it. Unfortunately, the exhaust pipes were also inaccurate, so I used the same technique that I used for the intake manifold pipes. I used lead wires for the proper size, cut it to the right length, glued them into the gaps and fixed the paint. The first serious production variant was the C series, which was a complete redesign of the R-2800. The manufacturing procedures were changed, such as the cylinders being forged instead of cast. The crankshaft was redesigned, the nose casing was divided into 2 sections, and many other elements of the engine were changed to improve power and reliability. Some of the C-Series engines reached 2,800 horsepower, which is a remarkable performance. One is done, now 17 more left. This was the worst pipe. I had to cut it back completely. It was challenging because I had to do it carefully so as not to destroy the rest of the fine work that I already done. I think it worth the effort because it turned out quite well. This massive air pipe is cockpit green and the rear side of the engine is dark iron. Luckily, there are many airworthy R-2800 engine-equipped aircraft all around the world, and we can see and hear them in air shows. For weathering the backside of the engine, again I use Tamiya panel liner in various of colors. I usually make them thinner so I can apply them gradually to the desired tone. It wasn't easy to build this engine, but I really enjoyed it. Hopefully I will finish this Corsair one day. After I finalized the engine, I saw a lovely detail in a photo. A yellow cap at the tip of the propeller axle. I used styrene tube and sheet with a bent copper wire. It's probably far not accurate, but I like this extra detail. If you like this video or find it useful, please hit the like and subscribe button with the little bell, and you won't miss any of the upcoming videos. Your support means a lot to me and keeps me motivated. Also feel free to share your opinions in the comment section. Now I call it done. I hope you had a good time, keep modeling and see you next time.